Now, the Youth to Gold premise is probably what I am most known for. I have done two so far. We started off with Strasbourg in the French League back in FM20, and in FM21 we did Holstein Kiel from the Bundesliga 2. Of course, the Strasbourg one was on YouTube, we streamed it, and the Holstein Kiel one was on Twitch. Now, for FM22, everybody has been asking me, when are you starting Youth to Gold? When are you doing it? And to be honest, I wasn't going to, until enough of you kept breaking me down, and I decided we need to do one. I need to bring one back. I am known for the Youth to Gold. Everybody talks to me about the Youth to Gold. It's time to do another Youth to Gold. But the question I got asked even more than when are you doing the Youth to Gold is, Luke, who are you doing the Youth to Gold with? Because the club is the most important thing that the premise of Youth to Gold revolves around. And if you don't know what the Youth to Gold is, you're going to be like, why? Why does he keep saying that Youth to Gold and I don't know what it means? So let me explain. So the Youth to Gold is a process on how I play the game with a like stricter rules. They're slightly stricter rules than what I used to play before I started doing content creation. I was always signing youngsters and I would never really use players who are old, like in their 30s. So I decided to crank that up a bit when I created the premise Youth to Gold. Basically, the first rule is you're not allowed to use any players who are 30 or above. That obviously leads to some complications when you're picking a team, because if a club has so many first team players who are 30 or above, for instance, if I wanted to do one with Manchester United, it's probably not a good idea. A lot of their best players are in their 30s. It's probably best to avoid them. The second rule of the Youth to Gold is that you are only allowed to sign players who are teenagers. So, you can confirm the deal when they are 19 and 364 days old, but if you waited another day until they turn 20, you cannot confirm that deal. You can confirm the deal before that they join the club so if you confirm the deal and they're 19 but they don't join you until they're 20, that's fine. It's just when you confirm the deal, they have to be a teenager. So what this basically means, where you're only allowed to sign teenagers and where you're not allowed to use players 30 or above, you are very much forcing the older players when they get to their prime out of the club. And that is down to usually they get a little bit of interest from another club. You realize that you have a wonder kid or a youngster in your academy who can play that role and fit in your team if that player was not there. And you decide, yes, I'm going to accept that offer. I'm going to take your money. I'm going to bet in this new youngster, this new talent into the side. And I'm going to take this money and I'm going to buy 3 more. I'm going to buy 3 more wonder kids from around the world and enhance my scouting network as far as I possibly can. As soon as I'm looking for these 16, 17-year-old, 18-year-olds from across the world who look half decent, who have a good potential, because then in 5 years' time, they're ready for first team and they can take another spot. And that's where the to gold part comes in. We are buying these youth players. They are pushing out players who reach their prime for a lot of money. They get sold. We bring in money and we're spending very little of it on more wonder kids. You end up having like 3 or 4 squads, which is great because you have so many players going out on loan. You have so many options. It's very difficult to try and weigh them all up. But my God, it is easily the most fun save I've ever done in my life. And you guys seem to really enjoy it. Now, before we take a look at the clubs that we were looking at, today's video is sponsored by SPITCH, the ultimate fantasy football app. And I've even created an Omega Loot community league for all of you guys to challenge me in there and join. It is available in the UK and Ireland for everybody who is 18 years of age or over. And the app lets you build your own team, collect points, battle it against other competitors and managers like me, and maybe even Omega Dad. So do you think you're better than me? Do you think you can beat Omega Dad? Because he is going to be joining this league. I'm going to force him to. Going to join this community league. And then, of course, we'll just know he's going to win that. He's probably going to win it. He's very good at fantasy football. But you can play for free. You can join for free. And you can also compete to win prizes up to £70,000 on a weekly basis. But the best thing I think about SPITCH is that it's not one of those fantasy football apps where if you miss a week, that's it, your season is done, because that's my problem. I always forget a week. No, if you do forget a week, it doesn't matter. This is done on a weekly based business. Weekly based competitions, it's perfect. There's tons of statistical analysis as well on the app, so you can dive into that, and it's incredibly easy to register as well. It's even easier that I can do it, just like this. So if you use my link down below, if you'd like to join, free in the description, and of course you'll be supporting me as a content creator. Not to mention, I'll also leave a link down there to my community league. So join that and challenge me. Back to the video. And as the day of me recording this video, I did a live stream. Now you can check out the whole stream on the second channel down below, which by the way, will also have every single VOD episode of the Youth to Gold, and it would have already started by now. Episode 1 might already be on that second channel right now. We are going live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every single week at 9 AM UK time. The first episode would have already have happened. You might have already missed it if you don't follow me on my social medias, which you should also do. And in this stream, we went through and we decided to choose a team on stream. I didn't know whether it was going to work, but I ended up having the most people ever watch me on a stream because that's how hyped people was to talk about these different nations. So we're going to take a look at what we were looking for and who we eventually ended up choosing as our Youth to Go team. Now, of course, the premise of the Youth to Go does mean that we are looking for certain things. So I created a spreadsheet. The first thing was club vision. Does the club vision have signed players of high reputation players? Because that is not going to work. They are not going to like the fact we are bringing in all of these unknown wonder kids. However, if they have signed under 23s, signed under 21s, do not sign over 30s, that's thumbs up from me. That's good. So that was one thing that we need to look at straight away when we're choosing a club. The next thing is their budget. If they don't have any transfer budget, we can't buy any players, which means we can't end up building these teams, backlogging these teams from the players that we are selling and have them already there. It just doesn't work out. You need to have some kind of transfer budget, and they can't really be in debt. A lot of times when we were looking at these clubs, we found a lot of these clubs were in debt. The next thing is how many players they had who are 30 years of age or above. And this was probably the one that ruled out so many different teams when we were looking into it. So many teams had buy players under 21. We clicked on their team and we seen that they had about 15 players who were either 30 or 29, so they would be the last time we could use them, and we wouldn't be able to actually do a save with them because we can't use them when they turn 30. They're not going to be in the team, so we'd have to sell all of them. So we're trying to get as minimal players who are 30 or above or 29 or above as physically possible. There's a lot of restrictions that we need to look into here. So let's take, for instance, Almeria. This was the first team we took a look at on the list. They have an average age of 26, which is good to begin with. The club culture doesn't suggest that we need to sign anybody that's young, so that's fine. But when we went to the squad, this is where things started to hamper down. If we take a look at the age here, we got a lot of youngsters. That's great, that's fantastic. But when we go to the top end, we have a lot of players who are 29 or above. So if we highlight them there, look how much of the star ratings they are. They tend to be some of their best players, especially these two here. We wouldn't be able to use them. That is kind of the factor which stopped us using Almeria. And if we take a look at their transfers, they have £1.57 million in the bank. That's good enough for us to buy some players. Ultimately, it was a no. Now, the first nation that really did pique our interest was Famalicão. Of course, I didn't want to do another team from France or Germany, so Portugal became very attractive at the start of when we were looking for a team. And Famalicão is a very well-renowned club in the last couple of FMs to be buying the same kind of process that we are using. They are signing players under the age of 23 for the first team. They have a good average age of just 23. If we take a look at the players, again, if we go by age, there's only 2 players who are 30 or 31. Now, I don't have myself as manager here, but these are 2 players that could be considered to be in the first team. But if we do sell them, then that's fine. We're fine with that because we've got all of these players down here. And after 30, 26, a long time before any of the players who else is in the team that we'd need to be looking at getting rid of. On the other side of things, there's a lot of players, again, who are around about early 20s, including this man, who we all know is very good on this game. They also had good facilities and good youth facilities, and by my calculations, they had £4 million in the transfer budget for us to buy players. So that was the first bright green team that we had as an option. Then we headed to Austria. Now, Austria was quite a funny one. We found some teams which could have been decent. Sturm Graz, for instance, had some of the older players who are 31 or above that we'd have to sell as their highest influential players. Look out for that because we'd have to sell them. So that wasn't really an option. And then we come across this team, Admira Wacker Modeling. Great name. That already was a plus. They also have some nice kits. We don't have them loaded here, but we took a look at them. Kits made a big deal out of me, so I felt like we need to look to see what their kits like. I like their stadium too. Very attractive stadium. They've won 8 Bundesligas in the past. The desire is to use players through the club's youth system. That's not a bad one, but we will be buying a lot of players, so maybe they won't like that, so that's fine. And of course, they have excellent training facilities and superb youth facilities. It was a great start. Then, if we take a look at the squad, we have Filip Rastanic, who is, I know, very good from the Newcastle save. I've enjoyed him in the past. And if we look at the players who are 29 above, we had 3 players that we would not be able to use, so that is very much a capable for us to sell them and potentially reinvest in some youngsters. Transfer kitty wise as well, we had a little bit of budget, but not a lot. So it was an option, but it wasn't the best option. Bodo Glimt was another great option. Great training facilities, excellent youth facilities, a lovely little stadium there. Their kits are quite nice. We looked at them already. 24 was their average age. And if we do take a look at their squad, they have 1 player who's above 30 and 1 player who's 29. So we'd have to get rid throughout that season. And he didn't turn 29. Oh, he didn't turn 30 until December. So we could use him up until that point. And I think it's actually at the end of their season, the way that Norway is sitted out, so we won't have to get rid of him until the end of that first season. So we'd have a good squad, definitely a fantastic squad. And if we take a look at transfer wise, they had £2.28 million in the bank. This is an updated database, by the way, so all of their good players like Patrick Berg, for instance, and Bjorkan, I think is their left back, has all left. That's probably why we have a little bit of money in the bank. Again, it was a decent side, and they went to the votes. Let's take a look at another option. Now, one of the hot favourites was St. Gallen from Switzerland. The reason being is that they have a good average age of just 23. If we take a look at the transfer budget, they gave us a little bit of transfer budget, not a lot. A lot of people are saying Switzerland, they've never seen a save in Switzerland, so it will be quite interesting to see. But the best thing about them, they had no players anywhere near the age of 30. 27 is the oldest player in their team. We wouldn't have to touch it. And although they only had a very little transfer budget, they have a guy that I know goes for about £10 million at the start of a save. And although it would be great to keep him on, because the ultimate aim of this save is to win the Champions League, it's probably not doable unless we sell this guy for around about £10 million, which I've seen him go for, and reinvest in some youngsters. So I kind of knew I could get a lot of money for him, because if we take a look transfer-wise, there is a lot of teams after him. So many teams. So this is the one that came very, very close to winning the poll, but it wasn't the winner. The winner, and let me introduce you to the new Youth to Goal team for FM 2022. FC Nordsjælland from the Danish Superliga. Oh yes, I am so happy with this. What a fantastic club. So many of you mentioned this team to me beforehand, and I just kind of like put it off, like, oh, we'll see when we eventually look at them, we'll see. An average age of 21. That's mental. They do develop players using their youth system as a requirement. That could be problematic. They have great training facilities and excellent youth facilities, so hopefully they are bringing through the Danish best players ever. They are media predicted 5th, which I'm actually quite happy with. We're not predicted to be the favourites. Kits are also a massive factor. I like the kits. I like the tiger on the badge. Those things were definitely a big tick from me. But what was most important was the players that they already have at the club. They have 2 players that we cannot use. Kian Hansen being one of them. He is their key player. Unfortunately, we are not going to be able to use Kian Hansen. But fortunately, we have so many other players who are able to play. Because after those 2 30-year-olds, we have 23 is the highest. So once we offload or don't use those 2, we are set and we are safe. And there are so many really good players who are talented on this game. Abu Francis, for instance, Nygren. I mean, how they got Nygren recently is ridiculous. That they've managed to poach him in the January transfer window. That's fantastic. Diomande, of course. Very good player indeed. And there's some even better ones as well coming through the youth system that they have just bought. Andres Sheldrup, how have I forgot about him? He is great. And of course, if we take a look at their youth system, look how many players here are really good. They've literally just signed this guy on deadline day on loan from Lille, and they should have had an option to buy, but never mind. They normally have an option to buy him, but they are their idea is to bring in all of these amazing players. That is what they're doing in real life, who are youngsters who are at the first point of their career. And that's what we look to do in Youth to Gold. It's a perfect match. It is a perfect match with this team. Now, the stadium is called the Right to Dream Park. The reason for that is because you'll see a lot of Ghanaian players, a lot of African players. They are coming through the Right to Dream Academy. They are pretty much a feeder team that we'll be using in this database to hopefully try and prize some more players to Denmark. We'll obviously be loading Ghana as a nation that we have players from. So Right to Dream will start producing regens that we can start signing in the future. So I'm very happy that we have managed to do that. We got £3.79 million in the bank to sign some more players. That's great. And finances are looking very healthy indeed. I'm happy with this. I'm really, really happy with this. Denmark is a difficult league. There's a few different nations, a few different clubs, sorry, that have won the league in a row. I mean, Brøndby, Midtjylland, and Copenhagen. We haven't won it for a long time. In fact, we've only actually ever won it once, which was recent, 2012. So that's our job. Our main aim is to win the Champions League, remember, with this team, with the Youth to Go team. It's going to be the hardest task yet, because this is also kind of a build a nation. We will be building Denmark into a nation which will be better in European competitions for coefficient points and have a higher reputation. But I'm so happy that we have come to terms with a Youth to Go team, and that you guys, the community on Twitch, there was over like 260 people in there voting. The votes, it went between 2 votes. I think Nordsjælland won by 2 votes, and I voted for them when they were 1 vote behind St. Gallen, and they ended up winning by 2 votes. So if I voted for St. Gallen, it would be a draw. So I definitely affected the votes. We were that close in being St. Gallen, but now we are FC Nordsjælland. So thank you very much for everybody who took part in that. I really hope you get behind the Youth to Go process and you get behind the Twitch series, 9 AM, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every single week. Occasionally we might do other streams as well, but they will be the VODs that will happen on the second channel. And while you're down there, me and Dad have our second channel. Well, we have our football channel out right now. So make sure you go and subscribe to that. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.